voice can break the dark. A single spark ignites the heart. But if we turn when justice calls, the chains we forge will bind us all. When truth is silenced, when lies take hold, the cost is freedom, the soul grows cold. No one stands tall while another must fall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, defending every voice, defending every right. For the moment we falter, the moment we stall, we lose our own freedom when we let others fall. You can't stand free while others kneel. When justice fades, it's freedom they steal. An innocent condemned, a crime unspoken, and with it the bond of liberty is broken. No tyrant rules without our consent. Oppression thrives where silence is spent. Stand for the weak, the silence the small, or freedom will crumble for us all. We're mavericks of freedom, guardians of the light, fighting for the truth, for what is just and right. For the rights of one are the rights of all. We rise or we fall by answering the call. Even those we may oppose deserve the rights we all uphold. For if we deny them what is fair, we build our own prison in despair. The fight's not easy, it never will be, but justice for one is the key to be free. We stand as mavericks, together we strive, defending the rights that keep freedom alive. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, upholding every truth, protecting every right. When one is oppressed, we're all in the thrall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. So take a stand, let your courage rise. Defend the truth, don't compromise. For the soul of the world, the writing's on the wall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all.
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Maverick News Channel. Thank you for being here tonight. Mark Carney holds his first news conference since being elected Canada's new Prime Minister. He will tell us about the King coming to Canada. And we'll talk a little bit about what that means. What else? Donald Trump making up numbers again. He's living in his own strange little world over there. The world that he rules or runs, talking about gas prices that just don't jive with reality. What else? Pierre Poilievre. Yes, a Conservative member of Parliament is stepping aside so he can run in a by-election. Mark Carney says he'll pave the way for that by-election to happen quickly, if that's what the Conservatives want. The question is, will Pierre Poilievre be able to stay in the mansion that the leader of the official opposition lives in, while he's not officially the leader of the official opposition. He's being parachuted into a riding out in Alberta that looks pretty darn safe for any conservative. I'll show you why. And what else do we have on my list here tonight? A little talk about tariffs. We have, what else do we have? Oh, yeah, Maxime Bernier of the People's Party of Canada elaborating on that problem the party ran into with a whole bunch of candidates mysteriously dropping out like the day before the deadline for candidates to register for the federal election, leaving the PPC high and dry as voters are getting ready to go to the polls. Election interference, messing around, rigging. We'll dig into that tonight as well. Now, just a couple of housekeeping notes. The Rumble channel. It has been giving some people some problems. The 2 Rumble channels we run on. Some people say they're not able to see the video, but they can see the chat. I get phone calls in the middle of the broadcast telling me this. Here's what I have found out. It's not what we're doing here. It could be an issue with your device. If there's nothing I can do on this end to fix the issue. They're having server issues with Rumble. They're having some sort of glitch. There are a bunch of glitchy problems. They've also had some DDoS cyber attacks. It's a variety of issues. Now, to fix it, some people are just refreshing their page, exiting out and rebooting, and then everything comes back online for them. Of course, if you're not able to watch us, then how would you know what to do? Because you won't be able to see anything I'm telling you right now. So it's one of those catch-22s. Now, you could be watching on maybe YouTube because we are running over there. Although you may also have noticed that our main YouTube channel has not been running. That's because it's not running. Not right now. I've been telling people for a while that channel is going to be decommissioned, and indeed I've stopped using it because it's just been under so much attack. I won't get into the details. I shut down the chat, then I've just now shut that channel right down for the time being. We are running on one other YouTube channel, one of our backup channels over there, so you're able to find us there. Chat not running there for a variety of reasons. And we're over on Rumble and all the other platforms. And then we'll see what we have to do to make things work here in the long run. And then the last piece of housekeeping, some people have noticed that our website, mavericknews.ca, has been down. Yes, I know that as well. That is simply because there is no budget to pay for the hosting. We don't have the funds. So until we generate a little bit more money, it has to just stay offline. Once we get a little bit of money to pay for the hosting package and the expense of running that website again, I'll put it back up. It has been important because it's a backup to being banned on channels. It also helps with the algorithms. It becomes sort of a central hub for SEO. So it's extremely important, but not the most important thing. The most important thing is that we maintain the social media platforms separate and apart from the channel or the website. But that's why the website is down. It's just simply a budgetary thing because it does cost money, and I have to pay the annual fees for the hosting and the plugins and the things that we need to make that website work. It will come back online sometime at some point once the budget allows for it. Now, we will dig into today's top news stories when we come back on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out. of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Let's get this program on the road, shall we? First up, let's talk about this. How about gas prices? If you drive, this might be of note to you, especially if you're in the US, if you're watching from the United States tonight. So President Trump posts this saying that gasoline has crashed through or broken through $1.98 a gallon. There it is. There's his post on Truth Social. Gasoline just broke $1.98 a gallon. Lowest in years. Groceries and eggs down. Energy down. Mortgage rates down. Employment strong. And much more good news as billions of dollars pour in from tariffs, just like I said. And we're only in a transition stage, just getting started. Consumers have been waiting for years to see pricing come down. No inflation. The Fed should lower its rate, DJT. Well, I don't know what frickin' world he is living in, because I challenge anybody to find me gasoline selling anywhere in the United States today for $1.98 a gallon. Maybe it's selling somewhere, but I can't find it. Here, I went to a variety of websites. Here's the AAA, Automobile Association of America website, where they take a look and list fuel prices across the country. And you just one glance there, and this confirms that Donald Trump is in a whole different reality. National retail prices right here. So over on the West Coast, California, and neighboring states, between $4.77 a gallon and $3.30 a gallon. You start to move into the more of the center area of the country, and you're looking at prices anywhere from like $3.30 to a low as you get closer into, I guess we're looking at like Montana or North Dakota, Minnesota, $2.98, Wisconsin, $2.96. And then you get up into here in Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, $3.24. Indiana, $3.24. Ohio, $3.18. Pennsylvania, $3.34. That's not $1.98, Donald. $3.10 in New York. $3.09 in Vermont. Virginia, $3.03. North Carolina, $2.91. Florida, $3.15. Georgia, $2.93. Texas, $2.70. Where's the $1.98? Anywhere? $1.98. Show me $1.98. Going once, going twice, going three times. Nope. Not finding it. $1.98. Oh, yeah, whatever. He just makes stuff up, this guy. Okay, so not only is he living in a different world there, this whole thing with the tariffs, yeah, I don't know how you can't really tariff your way to prosperity. Not this way. It's a tax on people. He says taxes are down, prices are down, and I'll tell you what is actually down. Gross domestic product in the past quarter. Yeah. Down 0.3%. Here's J.D. Vance making excuses.
President thinks that we have to make more of our own stuff.
The economy shrank, first time in 3 years. People are pointing to the tariff policy. There are people looking at their 401ks that are worried. What do you tell them? Is this going to work?
So the first thing is, when you talk about the economy, this is Joe Biden's economy, and we inherited $2 trillion of debt, the highest peacetime deficits in American history, a $1.2 trillion trade deficit, which fundamentally means we're not making enough of our own stuff. And the president came in and he said, this is not always going to be easy. It would have been very easy for Donald Trump to do what administrations past have done, which is borrow a lot of money and continue fueling the national debt. He said, no, we need a reset. We need American workers to have better jobs. We need to protect the jobs that they have right now. And we need to be more self-reliant as an economy, which, by the way, will drive down those skyrocketing levels of debt that we've seen. That is what he promised he was going to do. And he came in and we've started that process. Now,
He's been backpedaling on a lot of these tariffs. It just isn't working out, is the bottom line. But I think he's going to, this is a hill he's ready to die on. And he may die on it, because when the reality of the tariffs really hits, like even I think by probably midsummer, you're going to start to see shortages of many goods, especially products from China. So when you go to Walmart, you're going to start seeing shortages on store shelves. And by the time you get to Christmas, it may be a whole new reality for Mr. Trump and America and maybe the world, because everything he's doing is affecting the world economy. But he is reshaping the world. And, he came out with a social media post on Truth Social yesterday saying that he is renaming May 8th as Victory Day for World War II and November 11th as Victory Day for World War I. This is raising some concerns with a lot of people, because Nazi Germany surrendered in May of 1945. So for Americans, the Second World War still raged after that for 3 more months, all the way until August, VJ Day. But for Russians, Victory Day falls in May 9th. That's why they have that ceasefire that that Vladimir Putin wants to implement, because he wants to have his big Victory Day parade on the 9th, and he doesn't want any attacks from Ukrainian drones. Although there are military experts and international law experts who say that that parade would represent a legitimate military target, because, of course, they get all these weapons and tanks and missiles and all these different arms, and they put them all in the parade. So it's this giant display of military armaments. So Putin, that's why he wants the ceasefires. He wants to avoid having those military assets targeted and possibly destroyed, at the parade. Ukraine has responded and said, well, why are we waiting? Why don't we just have it now? We want a more lasting peace, a more lasting ceasefire. So not just for a few days, but let's make it for 30, for a full month. Anyway, this is the back and forth that's been going on. And because of Donald Trump's declaration and this executive order that he's signing, I guess it was an executive order. I'll show it to you. That's not the right one. Let me bring the other one up here. Some people are like, Russian influence. Even the phrasing, Victory Day says here, many of our allies and friends are celebrating May 8th as Victory Day. And so you see the surrender of Nazi Germany, May 9th for Russia, but because of the time zones, it actually was May 8th in the US. So he's picking May 8th. But we did more than any country by far in producing a victorious result, he says here, on World War II. I am hereby renaming May 8th as Victory Day for World War II and November 11th as Victory Day for World War I. We won both wars. Nobody was close to us in terms of strength, bravery, or military brilliance, but we never celebrate anything. That's because we don't have leaders anymore that know how to do so. We're going to start celebrating our victories again. See, in the States, they tend to call it Veterans Day because traditionally it has been less about the victory and more about the soldiers, the veterans, the people who made the sacrifices during World War II. So this is a shift in tone, direction, and some people are actually kind of alarmed by it because it echoes what the way that Russia recognizes the end of the Second World War, brings it into alignment with that, and doesn't coincide with U.S. historical dates. Take from that what you will. Now, what should I segue into from here? Everybody's still talking about Alberta 51, Alberta independence now. There's talk about possibly Saskatchewan having a referendum. I don't know. It's, well, I do know. There's some people really pushing hard on this. We've been talking about it the last few nights, so I'm not going to get too deep into it this evening. Oh, back to the tariffs. Confirmation here. I told you about this really quite a long time ago. I said that auto parts and automobiles manufactured within the guidelines of the free trade agreement between Canada, the United States, and Mexico, CUSMA, they would not ultimately be subjected to the tariffs. And that was a long time ago. That was a couple of weeks ago or whatever it was. I can't remember the dating. But now more confirmation. Am I getting more confirmation or finally other people catching up on this? Well, here it is right here. Here's the CTV article on it, confirming what I told you 2-3 weeks ago, or whatever. I don't remember the date. U.S. Customs and Border Protection guidance released today. All you had to do was look at the information that was released subsequent or separate from Trump's executive order related to this on the day that he released that. And you could find the information in the documents that were available from the White House, which I did. Anyway, U.S. and some others too. U.S. Customs and Border Protection guidance released today says automobile parts compliant with the Canada-U.S.-Mexico agreement on trade will not be hit with President Donald Trump's tariffs. The 25% auto part duties were set to go in place on May 3rd. The guidance says the exemption does not apply to automobile knockdown kits or parts compilations. Trump signed an executive order earlier this week. He says we'll give some temporary relief to an automotive industry besieged by multiple tariffs. This is a duplication of what came before. The order provides a rebate to automakers that finish their vehicles in the U.S. and halted some additional tariffs like steel and aluminum from stacking on the auto duties. That's an interesting note because, this is why tariffs are not the answer for the economic woes that the United States and Western countries, all countries around the world really, are facing with regard to deficits and debt. It's because these tariffs do tend to stack one on top of the other because they affect all the inputs for every product made. If you do what he is doing, which is to impose across-the-board tariffs on virtually everything, especially from major trading partners, it ends up being not just a 25% tariff. It often can end up being much, much higher than that because you're imposing, like if you're building, well, a widget or a gizmo and it's got 500 parts on it and the parts are all coming from different parts of the world and you're imposing a 25% on every part. And if sometimes these things cross the border and go into other products. It's like every time it leaves and comes back, or every time a product comes in, like every time like energy is exported or imported, see, that becomes an input. And then you produce something, and then that can go back out, and then you're adding tariffs to that, and then it comes back in. And because you're stacking tariffs every time a product or a semi-finished product even crosses, or a raw resource like oil or a mineral, it isn't just the finished product that's tariffed, it's every single input into the production of a product that ends up being tariffed. So you could end up having many parts in a finished product tariffed multiple times, and then the finished product itself tariffed again, potentially, when it comes back in. And we know that even cars cross the border multiple times between Canada and the US. Some cars will cross the border back and forth, just parts back and forth. I don't even understand the logistics in some of that. It doesn't, in your mind, it originally make sense, but this is partly what happens. You get partially finished products, and process, apparently, it depends on what you're making and what goes into it. So this ultimately will, if left in place, result in massive inflation. It's inevitable. It hasn't taken hold yet, but you're already seeing the markets react in a really negative way, sending a pretty serious message, an indicator to the White House and to people, investors, that this is a bad thing. Don't do this. Markets are spooked. And the cost for this is ultimately coming down to the consumer. So it's actually a regressive tax, because the people who can least afford to pay end up paying a disproportionate level of the tariffs. It ends up being a tax on the poor and the middle class at a disproportionate level. Anyway, we'll let it play out and we'll see how it goes. But did you notice the word that J.D. Vance used in that clip? Reset. He said, Donald Trump says we need a reset. Well, here's a great reset, folks. At least a partial great reset. Oh, yeah, I know. And you think it's the World Economic Forum and globalists. And yeah, look in the White House. And look at the language he just used. He just told you what this is. Yeah, it's the reset. And we'll see if it works. Mark Carney holding his first news conference since being elected prime minister. He lays out his government's priorities for the coming parliamentary session in this, and he has now confirmed that King Charles will deliver the speech from the throne to open the 45th Parliament on May 27th. And he says the new Liberal cabinet will be sworn in the week of May 12th. And then he also took questions from reporters today. So let's go to the news conference. We'll run some of this for you. Let me get you up on the screen here, Mr. Carney. Here we go.
Auparavant. The engagement of Canadians at rallies, on social media, and around the dinner table was very high. And while different visions were put forth by various contenders, we disagreed agreeably, and the leader of every party quickly and graciously accepted the results. At a time when democracies around the world are under threat, Canadians can be proud that ours remains strong. As I've been clear since day one of my leadership campaign in January, I'm in politics to do big things, not to be something. And now that Canadians have honored me with a mandate to bring about big changes quickly, I will work relentlessly to fulfill that trust. As I stressed on election night, I am committed to working with others, governing as a team in Cabinet and caucus, and working constructively across parties in Parliament, working in real partnership with provinces, territories, and Indigenous peoples, and bringing together labor, business, and civil society to advance the nation-building investments that will transform our economy. In the coming weeks, I will unveil more of our plans to engage with Canadians as we embark on the biggest transformation of our economy since the end of the Second World War. This will be an incredibly exciting time as we take control of our economic destiny to create a new Canadian economy that works for everyone. We will begin to set out that new path for Canada with a new cabinet to be sworn in on the week of the 12th of May and the recall of Parliament on May 26th. We will have the privilege of welcoming His Majesty King Charles III, who will deliver Canada's speech from the throne on May 27th. Her Majesty the Queen will join this visit. This is an historic honor which matches the weight of our times. Je sais que beaucoup de Canadiens et Canadiennes partagent mon enthousiasme à ce sujet. Today I want to speak to the immediate priorities of my government, beginning with our relationship with the United States. As I've stressed repeatedly, our old relationship, based on steadily increasing integration, is over. The questions now are how our nations will cooperate in the future and where we in Canada will move on. Peu après le début de campagne électorale, je me suis entretenu avec le président Trump. Nous étions les deux d'accord pour que le Premier ministre du Canada et lui se rencontrent après l'élection pour trouver des terrains d'entente entre nos deux pays. On Tuesday, I had a very constructive call with President Trump, and we agreed to meet next Tuesday in Washington. Our focus will be on both immediate trade pressures and the broader future economic and security relationship between our two sovereign nations. My government will fight to get the best deal for Canada. We will take all the time necessary, but not more, in order to do so. In parallel, we will strengthen our relationships with reliable trading partners and allies. Canada has what the world needs, and we uphold the values the world respects. Au cours des derniers jours, je me suis entretenu avec le président Macron, le président du Conseil européen d'Acosta, le Premier ministre du Japon, Ishiba, et le secrétaire général des Nations Unies, Guterres. J'ai aussi parlé au président Zelensky auprès de qui j'ai réaffirmé l'engagement du Canada envers le peuple ukrainien. Dans les semaines et les mois à venir, je saisirai toutes les occasions d'échanger avec nos alliés et partenaires pour bâtir des relations renforcées fondées sur des valeurs communes. Nous allons faire preuve de leadership à l'international. Nous aurons d'ailleurs l'occasion d'en faire la démonstration en juin, alors que le Canada présidera le sommet du G7. We will reinforce our strength here at home by building an economy that creates jobs, grows incomes, and withstands shocks. Pour y arriver, nous allons bâtir une seule économie canadienne au lieu de 13. D'ici la fête du Canada, mon gouvernement aura contribué à l'atteinte de cet objectif. We will remove federal barriers to internal trade by July 1st to help unleash the full potential of Canada. We will work with provinces, territories, and Indigenous groups to identify projects that are in the national interest, projects that will connect Canada, deepen our ties with the world, and grow our economy for generations. We'll make the Canadian government a catalyst for these projects, not an impediment. And we'll always be guided by our conviction that our economy is only strong when it serves everyone. That means bringing down costs for Canadians and helping them get ahead. So we will put more money in Canadians' pockets with a middle-class tax cut that will take effect by Canada Day, saving two-income families up to $825 a year. We will protect the programs that save families thousands of dollars a year, including pharmacare and $10 a day daycare. We will expand the Canadian dental care plan to 8 million Canadians, saving the average family over $800 per visit. To lower costs for first-time homebuyers, we will cut GST on new homes at or under $1 million, allowing them to save up to $50,000, and we will lower the GST on homes between $1 million and $1.5 million. These tax measures will provide immediate relief, but they won't be sufficient to make housing affordable again. For that, we have to build. We will address failures in the housing market head-on, unleashing the power of public-private cooperation at a scale not seen in generations. We will slash development charges in half for all multi-unit housing. That's about $40,000 off the cost of a two-bedroom apartment in Toronto. And we will create an entirely new Canadian housing industry in modular and prefabricated housing using Canadian technology, Canadian skilled workers, and Canadian lumber. We will build houses faster, at lower costs, with a smaller environmental footprint in construction and greater efficiency once families move in. And to kickstart these efforts, we will create a new entity, Build Canada Homes, and provide $25 billion in financing to private developers. Nous allons construire 2 fois plus de logements par année et créer une toute nouvelle industrie de la construction avec des technologies canadiennes, des travailleurs qualifiés canadiens et du bois canadien. My government will focus on keeping Canada secure as a sovereign nation and Canadians safe in their communities. We'll build a stronger Canadian armed forces to protect Canadians, defend our sovereignty, and support our allies. We'll strengthen our border security with 1,000 more CBSA officers, as well as scores of dog teams, drones, and scanners to fight the traffic of guns and drugs. We'll strengthen Canadian law enforcement by hiring 1,000 more RCMP officers and giving law enforcement more tools to fight crime. We will toughen the criminal code and bail laws for those threatening the safety of Canadians, including making bail harder to get for those charged with stealing cars, with home invasion, human trafficking, and smuggling. Nous allons bâtir la confiance en notre système de justice et nous allons faire de même avec notre système de l'immigration. We will return our immigration to sustainable levels by capping the total number of temporary workers and international students at less than 5% of Canada's population by the end of 2027. That's a sharp drop from the recent high of 7.3%, and this will help ease strains on housing, on public infrastructure, and social services. At the same time, we will work to attract the best talent in the world to build our economy. Canada has what everyone wants. We're a confident nation that celebrates our diversity, that believes in and practices free speech, that respects the rule of law, that has a vibrant democracy. We value innovators and builders. We trust science. We protect our immense natural heritage. For Canadians abroad thinking about returning to build their lives in our nation, there's never been a better time to come home. Dans toutes nos actions, nous serons guidés par une nouvelle discipline fiscale. Notre gouvernement va dépenser moins pour que les Canadiens puissent investir plus. Day-to-day government spending, the government's operating budget, has been growing by an unsustainable 9% every year. We will bring that down to 2%, less than half the average nominal growth rate of the economy. We will not cut any transfers to provinces, territories, or individuals. Instead, we'll balance our operating budget over the next 3 years by cutting waste, capping the public service, ending duplicative programs, and deploying technology to boost public sector productivity. We will use scarce taxpayer dollars to catalyze massive private investment. By working together, we can give ourselves far more than the Americans can ever take away. By working together, we can build Canada strong. Pour surmonter les défis auxquels nous faisons face, le Canada doit être uni. Guidé par cette approche, j'ai échangé avec les chefs de l'opposition. J'ai fait part de mon intention de travailler avec eux pour rendre notre gouvernement plus efficace, soutenir nos travailleurs et nos entreprises et remettre notre économie sur la bonne voie. J'ai aussi échangé avec les premiers ministres des provinces et territoires qui sont des partenaires essentiels du gouvernement fédéral. Avec eux, je m'attends à continuer le travail étamé lors de la rencontre des premiers ministres que nous avons tenue avant l'élection, où nous nous sommes étendus pour abattre des barrières qui freinent le commerce interne et la mobilité de la main-d'œuvre. Canadians in the NHL play for a variety of teams passionately against each other. But when they're in a once-in-a-lifetime series such as the Four Nations or the Olympics, those same Canadians come together to win it all. During elections, Canadians play and cheer for different teams. Now that election is over, and we are in a once-in-a-lifetime crisis. It's time together, it's time to come together to put on our Team Canada sweaters and win big. Il est temps d'être unis. Unis, le Canada a accompli des choses difficiles, des choses qui semblaient impossibles. Now is the time for ambition, to be bold, to meet this crisis with an overwhelming positive force that is a united Canada. It's time to build, and my government is getting to work to build big, bold, and build now. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much. We will
let's
go
listen
to
to
the
some
room
of
for
the
questions.
questions.
One question, one follow. Because there is a long list, let's try and keep the questions as short as possible. We'll start with Ashley Burke from CBC.
Good morning, Prime Minister. What specifically do you want to get out of your first in-person meeting with President Trump, and will you be focused on trying to get the tariffs lifted?
Thank you for the question. For the first meeting, as I mentioned in my remarks, and the President and I discussed when we had our constructive call, there are two sets of issues. There are the immediate tariffs, both sectoral and so-called reciprocal and fentanyl tariffs, and then there is the broader relationship. So addressing both sets of issues. We'll see how that progress goes. It's important to get engaged immediately, which has always been my intention, has always been his intention, and I'm pleased to have the opportunity for quite a comprehensive set of meetings that will take place on Tuesday.
How do you avoid an Oval Office ambush like we saw happen to President Zelensky?
Look, I go there with the expectation of constructive, difficult, but constructive discussions. That's the spirit of the conversations that the President and I had. You go to these meetings well prepared, understanding the objectives of your counterpart, and always acting in the best interest of Canada, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Mélanie Marquis, La Presse.
Bonjour, M. Carney.
Bonjour, madame.
Félicitations. Vous avez réclamé un mandat fort.
You
pendant toute
nasty
la campagne.
Canadians
Vous avez
are
une
ripping
minorité
us
aujourd'hui.
off.
Qu'est-ce que ça change pour vous dans la façon de gouverner? Puis qu'est-ce que ça change
It's a
aussi
legitimate question
au
and a
rapport de
legitimate
force avec
concern.
l'administration Trump?
Alors, premièrement, merci pour votre question et vos félicitations. Je crois que nous avons un mandat fort parce que pendant la campagne électorale, j'étais très clair. Nos objectifs, c'est de faire face par rapport à les Américaines et d'avoir une stratégie économique avec de l'audace, hein, des grands projets, une économie pas très, des nouveaux partenariats à l'échelle internationale. Et nous avons reçu plus de 8,5 millions de votes. C'est le plus haut niveau dans
Okay,
l'histoire
I
du
think we
Canada.
can end that for now. So, as he said, King Charles III's trip to Ottawa coming up. May 27th, he'll be delivering the speech from the throne, the first monarch to do so in nearly 50 years. His presence carries deep significance amid these rising geopolitical tensions and domestic debates. And, this matters to Canada. King Charles III's trip to Ottawa it's no mere ceremonial gesture. It's a bold assertion of Canadian sovereignty at a time when President Trump has repeatedly taunted Canada, suggesting it become the 51st state. That rhetoric from Trump, coupled with threats of economic tariffs, has fueled national unease. And now Prime Minister Carney, fresh off this election victory, is calling the King's visit a historic honor that matches the weight of our times. Those are his words. And the speech from the throne, which opens Canada's parliament and outlines the government's agenda, is typically delivered by the Governor General. But Charles's decision to deliver it in person, despite ongoing cancer treatment, by the way, underscores his commitment as Canada's head of state. This is a rare move, last seen way back in 1977, when Queen Elizabeth II addressed Parliament. And the timing could not be more critical. Trump's aggressive comments have reignited debates about Canada's independence, with some in Alberta even whispering about separation. Well, they're not whispering, they're shouting it from the rooftops, really. They're on social media, lighting the internet on fire, determined to make this happen one way or another. They've had a plan. It's clear that this has been developed over a long period of time. They have a strategy. They're looking at timing. And it's interesting to see who the players are. As I've been saying, the masks have finally come off. And I'm not talking about the pandemic. This is an epidemic of separatism, a cancer spreading through the country. Anyway, Alberta talking about separation or aligning closer with the U.S., these ideas, some still describe them as fringe, but I don't think so, not out in Alberta. It's gaining momentum because of the propaganda, the information campaign, the social media campaign, the political campaign pushing all of this. It highlights the need for a unifying symbol for those who want to keep the country together. Monarchists, loyalists, if you will, argue that Charles's presence will remind Canadians and Trump and the separatists that Canada is a sovereign constitutional monarchy with the king as its head of state, not a U.S. governor. And all these people, it'll send who keep saying that Canada is not a real country, it will send a message to them, most definitely. Beyond geopolitics, the visit speaks to Canada's evolving identity. As debates swirl about the monarchy's relevance in a diverse and modern nation, Charles is navigating a delicate balance here, upholding tradition while he champions issues like climate change and inclusivity, which resonate with some and others find distasteful. His speech is likely to lend constitutional weight to Carney's vision of Canada, reinforcing the Crown's role in uniting Canadians during these uncertain times. And with the whole world watching, King Charles's address will be a moment of resilience and continuity, a reminder that Canada stands firm as a sovereign nation, rooted in its constitutional monarchy. We shall see how this plays out. The country is divided. Indigenous leaders, some Indigenous chiefs actually this week, here I'll show you, publishing or issuing an open letter to the Premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith, to stop stoking separatism. Show you the headline. 2 First Nation chiefs issuing this open letter, accusing Danielle Smith of, in their words, quote, attempting to manufacture a national unity crisis, and they're calling on her to stop stoking the fires of separatism. It says here, Smith's government has proposed legislation that would make it easier for citizens to call for a referendum on seceding from Canada. So this comes from Chief Sheldon Sunshine of Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation and Mikisew Cree Nation Chief Billy Joe Takaro. And they say in this letter that the Premier is enabling a referendum on separation and a, quote, fanatical cell of individuals when Canadians need to unite against U.S. tariffs. Smith has said it would be up to Albertans, not her government, to put the separation question on a ballot, and that she supports Alberta's sovereignty within a united Canada. Whatever the hell that means. It's sort of, I understand it, but at the same time, I don't understand these people, frankly. This is not needed. It's not necessary. And yeah, I agree with the Chiefs, to be quite honest. That's my editorial injection into this story for the night. But the Chiefs say even if Smith passes the buck on to citizens, it says here, the province can't breach treaties. That's right. First Nations have a say here, folks. And in this second letter, they ask Prime Minister Mark Carney, where they've also issued a letter to him to, quote, get the province of Alberta in line. Indeed. As I've been saying, I think the real solution to a lot of this is less sovereignty for provinces in order to get things done. We need to, I think the federal government does have tools in its toolbox to get a lot of these things done. Just doesn't sit well with Danielle Smith and her separatist supporters, the people who frankly control her, because they're the ones who got her. They're the ones who selected her for that position as premier out in Alberta. With these people, everything that they are doing, they are accusing others of doing. They selected her and created the conditions to get her into the leadership of the party, and ultimately they did get her into the office of the premier. Yeah, they rigged it. They absolutely did. Was it illegal? No. They were smart about it. They did what I've been telling everybody they should be doing in order to fix the country. Get involved in politics at the local level, at the party level, at the grassroots level, to affect policy change. If you don't like what's going on, you get involved there. And then it all flows upward. The results of that, they've been doing that for years now. Not in, like, from long before the pandemic. And now you're seeing the seeds that they planted ready for harvest. So if you want to make change, that's how you do it. I told people years ago, sitting right in this chair, that's how they've done it. But they kind of cooked it, they've rigged it, and they've got people in place. I've been looking, into the strategies and the tactics that they've been using, and they have people strategically in place politically in committees, organizations, so they can keep Danielle Smith in line. Yeah. Brilliant tacticians. They've studied the system and they've figured out how to cook it. They tried to do it with the federal election too. And it's coming from the conservative side, but within the Conservative Party, you're seeing ongoing tension. That's I think largely why you're seeing this fighting, like really open fighting now going on between the federal Conservatives and the Ontario Progressive Conservatives of Doug Ford. They're attacking him. They're trying to gin up some sort of a big feud. These pro-separatist Conservatives, Alberta-centric, they're trying to gin up some sort of a war so that they can blame things on Doug Ford, blame their shortcomings, and I think partially their election loss. And it's going to have something to do with the whole separatist movement as we move forward in this. And they are going to get this referendum because that's what Danielle Smith did. She's not just being impartial to this, saying, oh, it's not coming from me. It's coming from the citizens. Yeah, well, you just changed the rules provincially so that you're paving the way to make it very easy for them to get the referendum. And then some people are thinking that as soon as they have the referendum, if you get even like 50% of the people vote in favor of it, you're gone. No, it's not that simple either. There's a more complex process behind all of it, which we will not lay out here in total tonight, but just be aware that it's not going to be quite that simple. And yeah, they were trying to, you talk, people are like last night, there was discussion here of like election fraud, rigging. I saw some attempts to rig on both sides, influence, shift, like cook things, nobody was doing more to try to rig that election than conservatives with their paid influencers. That's how you rig elections these days, folks. You don't do it at the ballot box with fake ballots and cheating that way. You do it online through social media, largely, with people who pose as journalists when they're actually paid shills. Don't ask me. Don't ask me about it. Ask Maxime Bernier. He saw some shenanigans going on, right, in a pretty serious way. I pointed this out and from a post that he made on social media again yesterday, talking about how the PPC is using these, as he calls them, fake podcasters paid by the CPC. And I also told you that this was a number of days ago, that they had a whole bunch of candidates drop out at the last minute who registered to be candidates. They were in line to run. And then at the very last minute, they dropped out and didn't run for the PPC. Here's Maxime Bernier talking about exactly that. Laying it all out for you. What was this? This is on the Fredersons, I guess, is where it's shared. I don't know. I haven't seen this podcast before, but I did find this clip today. Came across it, and this is Max talking about it openly. Rick, you're a liberal. Yeah, no, I'm a journalist. Okay, so when I'm calling out the conservatives for what they've done, I'm backing it up. It's just a story, man. Okay. Here's Max talking about it openly.
But also don't forget, we had about 90 ridings where we didn't have a candidate. So our average.
What happened there?
Sorry
to interrupt there. What happened? I never did get to the bottom of that. They were nominated in Elections Canada. Why did they get pulled? What happened?
Yeah, actually, we had 310 candidates just before the election. And what happened? The day when the Elections Canada, the last day before approving our candidates, we did some calls, and our candidates said, "Oh no, I won't run. I won't deliver my papers," without good excuses. So what we think and what we saw on social media, some of them were conservative, and they came to us, they did the interview, they passed through the process, and they were saying that, yes, we are there. And when the time to table their papers with Elections Canada, they didn't go.
Well,
and we saw on social media 4 of them after that at a rally with Pierre Poilievre.
Jesus.
That was, for me, another trick coming from the Conservative Party of Canada, because their only goal is to destroy us. They tried with Kinsella in 2019. That's their only goal. They don't want a competition at their right, and I believe that they did that. So that's why I said to the team, this time we need to find our candidates right now and being sure that they are with us until
Wow, you really got to
election.
get down in the mud with the pigs in politics.
Yeah, no kidding. I keep saying politics is a blood sport, but sometimes it's just downright dirty, and you do get down into the muck with the pigs sometimes, don't you? Right down there in the gutter. You get dragged there. What a dirty business politics is. So yeah, don't sit there and whine to me about rigged elections if you're a conservative, because your guys are the ones rigging it. All right. You absolutely are, as much as anybody else. You know, don't tell me you're not aware, because it's just blatantly obvious now. People online pretending to be journalists. It's just wearing thin on me. I don't like liars. And I have to say, I'm not really fond of separatists either, because it just seems like it's just traitorous behavior to me. And I don't like it. I'm a Canadian. So I'm willing to look at people's different perspectives and points of view, but I'm finding it increasingly difficult to bite my tongue, and I haven't been much, but I'm trying to be tolerant of people who want to destroy everything. But if you're out in Alberta, you're seeing the NDP push back against this separatist movement, which is coming directly from the United Conservative Party, because it's the separatists who now seem to have the majority of influence and control over the party, and they have their premier in place, Danielle Smith, but here's the leader of the NDP pushing back against it.
Yeah, once again, she's gambling with the future of the country over plastic straws. I hate paper straws. I think most people do. My country is worth more than plastic straws. Maybe it's just the way I was raised, but I believe that a little bit of politeness, a little bit of class, a little bit of grace can take you a long way. And what I do know in my long world of negotiating difficult contracts and difficult agreements is the number one way to get someone to agree with you is to start attacking them on a day when they've just won an election. Of course, that's not going to work. But here's the thing. The premier doesn't want it to work. The premier doesn't want to win, because if she wins, she has nothing. She has only one gear, and her gear is to fight all the time, even though she knows she can't win and she doesn't want to win. My country, our country, is too important to play with like that. She's going to spend millions of dollars on another fair deal panel, yet another panel to appease her base that she won't do anything with. Once again, she's gambling.
So she's just saying, try a little diplomacy, criticizing her for going after Carney immediately the day after, and changing those rules too. And there's just a larger initiative, a larger campaign ongoing, and it extends into the United States. Don't tell me that this is not related, whether Nickelback, Canadian band, is a witting or unwitting participant in this. I do not know, but they are going on tour with Kid Rock on a Patriot music festival tour. They, of course, are originally from Alberta, and this upcoming traveling festival with co-headliner Kid Rock will make stops in 10 small towns across the U.S., beginning in Cullman, Atlanta from June 19th to 21st, ending in Anderson, South Carolina from July 25th to 26th. Rock the Country will also bring other big artists along for the multi-city festival, including Three Doors Down, Leonard Skinner, Ella Langley, Gavin Adcock, Hank Williams Jr., Big Rich, and more. And Nickelback is the only Canadian band on the docket. But, Kid Rock, Patriot Tour, the choice of title is not an accident. He's very friendly with Donald Trump. Actually, he sometimes visits my hometown right here. Well, my new hometown, my current hometown. Sometimes Kid Rock comes to town here. I've seen him, met him briefly here in my community, because he comes here to do classic car stuff. That's another story, but definitely tied to Trump, White House patriot, big MAGA supporter. And with all this 51st rhetoric and the Patriot Tour, I'm not saying that Kid Rock is out there advocating for or pushing for Canada to become the 51st state, but having Nickelback part of that, patriotic too. You have a Canadian band part of the Patriot Tour, and I see Canadians up here pushing the whole "We the People" thing and the 51st state stuff, and calling themselves patriots. Yeah, but when you're doing that, man, you're not a Canadian patriot. That's all American rhetoric. And many of the people involved in that, I don't think they even realize that they're using words that are American centric. They are. It's always been perplexing to me. We the people, we the people. Yeah, that's American, not Canadian. Poilievre's going to be running, though, in the Battle River Crowfoot riding in Alberta. And I'll show you why. He lost his riding in Ontario, which was a surprise to many. And some people are, upset because I guess there were some 90 people on the ballot, which was, I think, an attempt or was clearly part of a strategy to try to unseat him. I don't think that was really the deciding thing, though, because he lost by like 4,500 votes. So there was more going on there. You have to keep in mind that the riding he was in, which is near the Ottawa area, it's in Ontario. His roots are out in Alberta. And in Ontario, you had this pretty strong liberal shift in this past election. So I think he suffered because of that. I don't think ultimately it was putting all those names on the ballot that cost him the election. It was more than that. It was the way the campaign was run by both parties and the way it resonated with people, especially in Ontario, and the demographics within his riding. But in this, he's being parachuted into this riding where Damien Keurig is stepping aside in order to make the by-election happen so that it will open up the seat, allowing Pierre Poilievre to step in, and he should easily be elected there, depending on what goes on. If somebody tries to rig this one, maybe the Liberals will have some creative politicking take place there. Who knows? But look at the spread here. 81.8% of the votes Conservative, easily won. So it's a very safe riding. That's why he's going there. Alberta, his base of support really is out there, Poilievre's, and they're putting him right into this very, very strong Conservative riding. So it should be a cakewalk for the guy. If he can't win there, he's definitely gone as a leader. So, look how far back Liberal 70s, Brent Sutton, 7,400 votes, only 11%. And the PPC, 1.6%. That's actually pretty good for the PPC in this past election, because a lot of the votes that would have gone to the PPC were scooped up and went over to the Conservatives because so many people were worried about splitting the Conservative vote. Still, Conservatives did not pull it off. I'll be back in just a moment.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, let me just see if there's anything else on my list. I think we've kind of, it's been a pretty efficient broadcast tonight. Yes, so that being said, let's do this. Let's go to the telephones. You can call in, join the conversation by dialing this number. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. And yes, you can join the conversation. And I'll put it up on the screen here on the ticker underneath. I just have to find it. Here we go. Right there. You can call 1-647-734-4220. And then it'll prompt you to punch in that PIN number, which is also scrolling on the bottom of the screen. 860-075-764. And then hit the pound sign, and I will let you into the meeting. So, also tonight, President Trump has signed an executive order that is cutting all funding as much as, I guess, the law allows for national public radio and the public broadcasting system in the United States. Yeah, PBS and NPR. Here, I'll show you. So, this is a big shift. PBS, that's where Sesame Street has got, that's where Sesame Street came from. Mr. Rogers. Right here, President Donald Trump signed an executive order to end public funding of national public radio and PBS to stop what he called biased and partisan news coverage. The order directs the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to cease federal funding for NPR and PBS to the extent allowed by law. The order could be challenged in court. The White House issued a statement today saying that both organizations had received tens of millions of dollars in taxpayer funds each year to spread radical woke propaganda disguised as news. Unlike in 1967, this is their statement, when the CPB was established, today the media landscape is filled with abundant, diverse, and innovative news options. The executive order reads, government funding of news media in this environment is not only outdated and unnecessary, but corrosive to the appearance of journalistic independence. So it says here, Trump and his loyalists, including Elon Musk, have long complained that NPR and PBS are biased and promote left-wing causes, an allegation staunchly denied by executives at both organizations. Last month, Trump called for their defunding on Truth Social, calling them radical left monsters that so badly hurt our country. Big Bird, Big Bird, stop hurting the country. To date, NPR and PBS received roughly $500 million in public money and earn money from sponsorship. NPR says less than 1% of its funding comes from public sources. However, Trump said the order that CPB failed to follow the principles of fairness and impartiality that underpin its public role. Which viewpoints NPR and PBS promote does not matter, it says here. What does matter, quote, is that neither entity presents a fair, accurate, or unbiased portrayal of current events to tax-paying citizens. Goodbye, PBS. So they've always had those fundraisers. Now, to keep it on the air, they'll need to rely a lot more on donations. And they do receive a lot of donations from even big corporations, from individuals. When I was a kid, they used to run those telethons. I don't know if they still do that. See, I don't really watch much TV anymore. I'm pretty much online. And yet, NPR, PBS, they don't really have much of a presence online that at least not that I've noticed anyway. So this is a big change for them, that's for sure. And again, 1-647-734-4220. I don't really think I'm going to get into that ostrich story here tonight. I did take a look at it through the day in more detail. This is a story about these ostriches that are targeted for a cull because of the avian flu outbreak out in British Columbia. I have looked at the details, but I don't really want to touch on it here too much tonight, I don't think. So we'll kind of push it aside. Maybe we'll get into it another night if we get one of the main newsmakers with regard to that story on the program. We can reach out perhaps and see if we can get an interview with someone out there. All right, let me take another little break here. And again, 1-647-734-4220 if you would like to join the conversation here tonight as we kind of get into the last leg of the broadcast. And with that, I leave you here with this, and we'll be back in just a moment on the other side.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. All right, I have two co-pilots about to join us here. Calling in tonight. Yeah, here, hang on a second. Don't have you up on the screen yet, but now you're there. All right. Who's on the line? Two very familiar
He's got a good old dragon on the line.
And
good old Ramby John on the line.
From Alberta land. Well, welcome back,
Separation
gentlemen.
land.
Yes.
Welcome.
So, help me out here. What's on your mind? Fuel the conversation.
Oh, well, I'm afraid, my friend, because I don't want to leave you, man. I mean, I love you. I don't want Quebec to become part of the state. I'm starting to be afraid here.
I don't want you to leave either, Dragon. I like Montreal. I like Quebec City. I like Quebec. I like you. But man, so many people just working so hard to burn it all down, and you're really beginning to see now they're just wide open right out there in the public. You know who these folks are. What are you thinking, John? What's on your mind tonight?
Well, the separatism thing is it's off and running big time in Alberta. It's a reality whether you like it or not with the election this week.
Yeah, it's a manufactured reality like any other political thing, but it's certainly getting a lot of traction because of the promotion that it is getting online with, like that Keith Wilson, the lawyer from the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, separatist. He's out there every day doing, I think in some cases, even multiple podcasts, making appearances on these programs, really promoting and I think coordinating, organizing the whole separatist movement. Who else is on the line with us tonight?
Hi, it's Brian Howell from Kingston.
Well, welcome back, Sir Brian. Great to have you.
Yeah, how are you, Rick?
I'm just fine. Thanks for calling in tonight. I appreciate it very much. What are you thinking?
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering, and others, poor little Anna of Green Gables is wondering, why is Premier Danielle Smith being so mean? Why is she laying down the law so much?
Mm-hmm.
And this is, something that Rimby John could maybe respond to.
Yeah, there you go, John. Why do you think she's being so mean-spirited?
Yeah, well, I don't understand the question, Brian. Like, give me a little more premise on it. What do you mean she's being mean?
She seems to be in her press conferences. She's getting really bossy, really laying down the law. Quote, don't tell us what we can do with our gas, our oil, our cattle, our farm, our sheep.
Yeah.
She's not the Queen of Sheba. She's the premier of one province of a larger country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. Not that we're pinning it on you, John. Like you're not Danielle Smith.
Well,
you don't have to defend her. She's not.
My first comment is on that little clip, Rick, you ran of the leader of the NDP party in Alberta. The guy's name is Menchie.
Yeah.
He was the mayor of Calgary, an absolutely horrible
mayor of Calgary, and now he's stepped into being the NDP leader. But no, I don't know. We're just standing up for what is ours. I don't see anything wrong with that. I quite support Daniel Smitty myself.
Well, you can't just go zap and separate. It doesn't work that way, John.
Oh, well, I got news for you, boys and girls. Quebec has laid out the railway track for it. It's a much easier process now because Quebec has laid out the railway track for it to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, but the thing is that it's going to take a while before we get there if it's all accepted. And, I mean, the referendum needs, I think, and Rick can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that on a referendum on a separation, you need about like 70% of the population that does the referendum or the voting on it. And you need about also 70% of all those inquiry to be on the say yes, I want to separate myself, to be able to get there. So that's a bit of a long shot, but it could happen. But anyway,
I don't think you're correct, Dragon. Alberta's going by the plan of what you laid out in Quebec. I think it's 51%.
Yeah, no, it's not. No, it's not. That's
no, you need a major.
Yeah, you're quite right, Dragon.
Yeah.
It's a much more complicated process. And in fact, if you really go and look at the Clarity Act and the railroad track that you're referring to that was laid out by Quebec, there's some ambiguity there. A lot of it isn't really clear as to exactly what percentages would be needed, what the actual threshold is. And I think it's ambiguous on purpose to make it, somewhat difficult for a province to leave. But there is a process. It is possible, but it's not as simple as just having a vote and getting 51% and you're gone. That is not the way it's going to go down. Now, I think some people are being told that. You're having some people being sold that, and that's not true. And one of the reasons they're selling it that way is because I think what they want to do is that if they have the referendum and you get like 50+1 and you don't get to separate immediately, they'll use that as a tool to say it was all rigged. It's a corrupt system. It's all fixed. And then
that or
even more
you're right, Rick. There's that, or they can use that 50% to say, well, we got some galvanization on the subject there to probably do a second one later and see if we can pull out more than 50%, because the idea is to have a clear positive mandate on it. So that's what it is.
And why do you what is it about John?
Yes.
What is it with you? You are like bipolar or something, because one day you call in and you're Canadian and the next day you call in and you hate the country and you're ready to go. So which way is it? Because I can't figure you out, man.
No, I've never made any bones about it. I've said way before Christmas that I am an Albertan first. I've always been an Albertan first and a Canadian second. And if they're going to put the vote in front of me, I'm voting for independence.
All right, so
we
you're
should
a
have left
traitor.
50 years ago.
So you're a traitor.
No, we should have left 50 years ago.
Okay, so you're a traitor.
We're like just taking a page out of the book from Quebec.
Yeah.
All
right, so you've been lying to me.
No.
Yeah.
No, I always
told me
told you I
otherwise
was
on
an
the phone.
Albertan first.
We've had long conversations. You say you're
Yeah,
pro-Canada.
I've always been an Albertan
Canada.
first.
So you're
and
a traitor. You're a
Canadian
traitor.
second.
You're a treasonous traitor.
Okay.
That's what you are. You want to split up the country. That's overthrowing the government, dude.
Well, we're just tired of being ripped off.
Oh, yeah, ripped right off. Oh, you're ripped off, eh? Ripped off.
No, we're playing the Quebec card.
Yeah, sure. You're so hard done by out there living in a third world country. You don't have any health care. You're all eating out of garbage cans. Yeah. Oh, you're so hard done by.
Have you ever lived in
rough.
Quebec?
Why don't you go give your buddy Keith Wilson a call?
Have you ever lived in Alberta, Rick?
I've been to Alberta several times. Yep, I didn't
No,
live
have
there.
you ever lived here for a period
I'm a
of time?
Canadian, dude.
Well, I'm a
in Canada.
Canadian too, but I happen to be an Albertan first. I'm no different than Dragon. Dragon's a Quebecer first.
Selfish
before
is
he's a
what you are.
Canadian.
Selfish.
Are
You
you
want
a
it all for
Quebecer
yourself.
first,
You don't want to
Dragon?
share.
Well, Dragon, are you a Quebecer first before you're Canadian? I mean, be honest.
I'll give you a big answer to that, okay?
Yeah.
If you allow me. I'm first a Quebecer. I got some family that is basically embracing the Bloc Québécois to probably follow the Albertan into that separation, which I'm not with them on that part, which, you know, family with family. I'm still, you know, good blood with my family, but on that part.
Dragon, whoa, wait a minute. Whoa. Let me
Thanks for being honest, Dragon.
Let me get
Thanks for your
clarification
honesty.
from you what
Appreciate it.
you're saying. You say you're
I'm not a separatist at all.
You're not all right. So
pro-
you're not a separatist. You don't want to break the country up.
That's
so you're a Canadian.
First of all.
Canadian.
And it's not because the whole family, like John would say, goes to separate or want to separate themselves, that I'm going to follow the lead or I'm going to follow the big family. I'm sorry to say, but I'm going to stick by my own roots. And I'm Canadian
Dragon,
first foremost.
Well, Dragon, thanks for your honesty, because the question was, are you a Quebecer first and then a Canadian? You said, yes, I am. I'm a Quebecer first and then a Canadian. So don't hate me in Alberta.
Well, you're a separatist. And you're a traitor, John.
I've never
and you've been lying to me. You've been lying to me, telling me otherwise.
I've said
you have.
many
You told me
times on
multiple
the show.
times. You're not a separatist,
I've
but
always
you are.
been an Albertan
yes, you
first.
are. Yes, you are. You hang
and
out
I'm
with
a
all your
Canadian
separatist friends, and then you send me these nasty, like, messages in the middle of the night where you've changed your mind or something, and you've been lying to me, and then you tell me the truth in a really caustic way, and I'm tired of it, frankly. I'm really tired.
I've always been an Albertan first. Always been an Albertan first.
That's right.
And
all right. Thanks, John. Have a great night. Bye. Traitor among us. Maybe he'll come to his senses and find out who his real friends are. Yeah. So how about you, Dragon? Can you clarify that? Are you a Canadian who wants to separate, or a Quebecer who wants to separate from Canada?
Oh, I'm a Quebecer and a Canadian foremost, but, you know, I mean, deep down in my mind, I'm staying a Canadian. And if Quebec separate themselves from the U.S., well, to me, it's like I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm just a Canadian. So don't make me choose between one or the other. I'm staying where I was born. And they ain't going to take out the forest out of the cave, or it's like, you know, the caveman. You don't take out the cave out of the caveman, if you know what I mean.
Okay, so let me understand. You live in Quebec. You've lived there your whole life. Your roots are all there. So obviously, whatever happens, that's where your home is. So you're not leaving where you live. But are you a Quebec separatist?
No, not at all. I'm not with that. I'm totally against the separation of Quebec.
Okay.
Or any other province at the same process.
And do you think Quebec gets ripped off by the rest of Canada?
Not at all.
Okay. Do you think is Quebec getting ripped off by, is Alberta getting ripped off by Quebec? Are you guys ripping off Alberta?
No, I think we are having our little agreement here and there, and there's some, you know, misconception about those agreements. But it's true that there's the separation of the fact that we don't always contribute to one province to another, right?
Yeah.
And we need probably to get that around and probably help each other's. You know, those red tape and whatnot that needs to be taken down. And, you know, if you're a health provider and you can, you know, provide health in Quebec, why not be able to go to Alberta to give some of your services if need, or you know, I think it's the best for everyone.
So, okay, so what do you think of all what just happened here, Brian?
Well, I'm a Canadian, and that's what my passport says.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
Last time I checked.
I don't have a passport, but that's what my my health card says. I'm Quebec Canadian first, so yeah. I want to keep that little piece of paper.
Yeah.
But you, a couple minutes ago, Dragon, you quoted something like they need 70% for a Quebec referendum on separation.
Yeah, on a referendum, you need a clear majority to on the yes, basically, to be able to separate yourself.
Well, I just heard that.
For example, that's the Clarity Act that came, I think, in 95 or after 95 when there were that referendum back then.
Yeah. Well, I just heard Danielle Smith said something that she lowered the bar down to 10%, where you only need like 160,000 to sign a petition to put the referendum on the ballot.
Is that possible?
Before it had been much higher.
Is that possible? That she can overrun something that comes from, hierarchy or the or Supreme Court, stuff like that. I'm not sure, but I mean, Rick could probably help me out on this one because it's a little bit off my ball game here, but that's basically the gist of what I can tell you. So
it sounds like Danielle Smith wants her Maple MAGA groupies to do the dirty work to get to that 10% number. That's the way it comes across to me.
They already have this stuff laid out, and from what I'm seeing, they're sort of getting signatures and everything lined up in advance, and then they're going to, I think they're going to do polling, and they're going to look at, where everything sits, and then it's a certain moment they'll pull the trigger to try and make this thing happen. They've got a strategy, and they've been talking about it openly, and it's they know the process is, and it's a complex set of hurdles that they have to get over, and there's negotiation with the federal government that has to take place ultimately too. So it's a lengthy process. It's not as simple as just having the vote, unless a certain president gets involved and pushes this thing in a certain way. It's like this is where I think it gets dangerous. You start playing this game, you're talking about breaking up a country. This is, this, as I pointed out, I think it was last night or the night before, if you're in the United States, this doesn't happen. There is no option for this, for a state to secede from the Union. So if you get involved in this kind of process down there, you're going to jail for life, because it's treason. It's treason. And as far as I'm concerned, these people doing this, they're enemies of the state. It's that
and all
serious.
the podcasters are really promoting it too.
I know. And not, like I say, the masks are coming off, aren't they? So now we're seeing people's true colors. Well, my colors are red and white because I live here. This is my country, and I'm no traitor. And I don't want the country to break up. Now I'm here in Ontario. And so, I'm not sitting out there in Alberta where I see this campaign taking place, but I don't think that the rhetoric that I'm hearing from people is really reflective of reality. They're appealing to people in very base ways, appealing to greed, fear, anger. This isn't healthy. They're just getting people as jacked up and as angry as they possibly can, and they're trying to discredit and destabilize the government in every way they can. It's been going on for a long time, and it's the same actors, the same faces, some of the people that I put a lot of trust in and had no idea that they were doing this kind of crap. And let's face it, but this has really been the end game from, a long time ago. This has been in the works for quite a long time. Scott
Moe just gave a speech yesterday, and he said we're not going along with. He's doing a rethink in Saskatchewan. He's determined to keep Saskatchewan part of Canada.
Yeah.
And I probably would dare say that Wabigoonoo in Manitoba,
yeah,
they want to be part of Canada too.
Yes.
So,
yeah,
not to say anything bad against Alberta,
It's not.
But
It's not me. This is John. I know you're probably listening out there. You keep saying, stop bashing Alberta. I'm not bashing Alberta. I've never been bashing Alberta. We're not bashing Alberta now. We want Alberta to stay. It's part of Canada. We love Alberta. Okay? This is not bashing Alberta. You don't have to be a separatist to love Alberta. And wanting to keep the country together doesn't make you a liberal. This is all BS rhetoric that you're getting from the separatist movement, where they are trying to polarize people and then whip people into line by threatening alienation from the group. If you deviate from their narrative, you have to toe the line on the separatist rhetoric. Otherwise, you're excommunicated from your group like it's some religion. It isn't. It's a question of just keeping the country together, and that's not a partisan thing. That's a Canadian thing. And it's not an NDP versus conservative thing. The Conservative Party out there has been taken over by the separatists. So it's not a conservative party anymore. It's a separatist party. And the federal Conservatives, as I've been pointing out over the last number of weeks, is being heavily influenced by that Alberta separatist party, which is wearing the colors of the Conservatives. It's not a conservative party at all. It's a populist party, perhaps a neo-populist party that is pro-separatism and pro-MAGA. And there's MAGA influence up here. Donald Trump's fingerprints are all over this. And then people say, you need to wake up. Yeah, I am waking up, because all these people who have been pretending to be freedom fighters and whatever else they're pretending to be, now the masks are coming off, and we're seeing that it's really, you're separatists. You're anti-government, and you're separatists largely. And they're all falling into line. You're anti-Canadian. So I totally understand why people have been afraid that you might overthrow the government, because you're overthrowing the government. Overthrowing the government means separating, breaking it up, or taking over the government, turning it into the 51st state, turning it into something else. That's overthrowing the government. If you're separating from the country, you're telling the government that you don't have any authority here anymore. So it's the same damn thing. It's an extension of that. Am I off base saying that? No.
No, that's what Rudy Bruce was talking about the other night, and he kind of just discovered it, and he's a freedom guy.
Yeah.
And though he doesn't quite understand it, that's what he discovered.
That's what he discovered.
That was an insightful interview.
No, it was. And actually, I can give you another layer all to that. And if you allow me, Rick, it all goes down also with Mr. Roger, right? From what we did uncover, just to give a little layer to the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Right around the corner, if you do remember well, when the convoy was basically broke down by the RCMP, you had what? You had basically Tucker staying on whatever podcast, or his own podcast, Tucker Today, something along the way that we need to liberate Canada, becoming the next Cuba, or something along those ways,
when
right?
he was coming to Canada to speak at that big rally that was put on by the Conservatives out in Alberta, he went to Alberta to speak. He was like the big headline star at that rock concert style political rally. And then before he came up here, he phoned the Prime Minister's office and he said, hello, Justin Trudeau, I'm coming to Canada to liberate your country. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he did. Said he's not joking.
And at the same time, you had that now Steve Roger trying to call on people on his Facebook to Canadian, come and write me letters to our congressman to help you out in your into that tyranny that is the liberal government and blah 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 and so on. So basically, you had already that I would say organization from the U.S. part, doing their thing with the Canadian part, and that's where the roots are to a certain extent. This is one of the layers of the onion.
Yeah. It breaks my heart. It's what they're doing, frankly, is just wrong. It's just plain wrong. You can have your opinions, and as I've been saying, and maybe, and I'll say it again here tonight. These people are lucky they live in Canada right now, because if they lived in the United States, they'd all be in jail, and that's why they should stay, because they're proving that Canada is a more tolerant, freer, and more democratic country than the United States. In fact, Canada is a real country, and the United States probably, it is, if you want to talk about a fake country, it's the United States, more so than Canada by far. Because right now you have a guy running the country down there who has turned, the White House into Trump Corp headquarters, who sits there and makes these deals, is meeting with, has a meeting with the top 200, I think it's the top 200 purchasers of his Donald Trump meme coin. And then he's giving as a prize for the people who bought the most Donald Trump meme coins, tours of the White House and an opportunity to have dinner with him. He's selling the presidency. It's cheapening the whole thing. He's turned, you talk about the government as a corporation. Well, that's how it's done now that, the U.S. government is Trump Corp. And you see everybody capitulating to the guy because he's using tariffs, so that in order to get around that, they need these rich business people need exemptions. So that forces them to go to him, bend the knee, kiss the ring, and make a deal. And I'm not talking about countries, just countries. It's like business people. And that's what the whole deal in Ukraine on the minerals is about. That's him making deals to his rich friends. That's Trump Corp. That's Trump Corp USA. He's turned the whole country into that. And he's got the law behind him, the military. And Alberta, if you leave and you join the United States, you ain't coming back. There's no way for you to come back. There's no path back if you decide that you've made a mistake. Once you break up this marriage, okay, the divorce is final if you go join the US of A. And if you try to come back, they'll send in the military, and the military will already be there. They'll be occupying you, and you're going to be there taking all of that. Canada is a beautiful place. We are more tolerant. We are, the reason we're a legitimate country, more so than anything else, is not because of the way this Constitution is written. It's because of the attitude and the approach to politics that we take up here. We don't rule at the end of a gun. The reason the country isn't held together because of coercion or authoritarianism. The country stays together because of the will of the people. Not we the people, the will of the people. Because people wanted to stay together. We cooperate. We're conciliatory. We make concessions instead of trying to wage wars of conquest against each other. That's why we're facing the crisis that we're facing right now, is because we're very tolerant, and we've allowed, the division of powers more so than we probably should. And we've allowed provinces to have as much sovereignty over their resources and their areas of jurisdiction, much more so than we probably should. But in order to just keep the peace, we've just, had negotiations. We negotiate everything and then reach compromise and keep the country together. And we've had our approach to our relationship through the federal government and First Nations has been much along those lines as well, which contrasts what happened in the United States throughout their history. And that's why we have nations within a nation, First Nations within a nation, and their treaties are with the federal government. That's also why this whole Alberta 51 thing, you better start talking to those First Nations, Danielle Smith, and be consulting with them as well, because you're being very disrespectful to them. And they have a say. This is the way Canada was built. That's why Sir John A. Macdonald wanted a confederation and not a republic like they have in the United States, because he saw what happened with the American Civil War. And he said that we had to avoid that. He didn't want bloodshed up here the way that they had it in the United States, because the American Civil War remains, even to this day, one of the bloodiest conflicts in human history, with like massive numbers of casualties, brothers killing brothers. You want that up here? I'll tell you, I've heard people say, literally, this is people from Alberta, leaders, and I won't tell you which ones, because I just don't want to bring the names into it. But I heard somebody just the other day say, this is our 1776 moment. That scares the living daylights out of me. That's a revolution. That is potentially violent. That is absolutely where we do not want to go. So, John, come to your senses, man. This is where these people's minds are at. This is where their headspace is at. This is where they think that they have to rise up against the government. Now, you can have your referendum if you want to, but I sure hope it doesn't come to something like that. And if you get 50+1, and a lot of people think that that's the path, that's it. We have to go. We get to go now. And then we've seen even, with other countries where it's like, we had this referendum and it was fair. And the people voted in favor of separating. And I'm talking about like even over in Ukraine. And those things get cooked up too. You think that this is a free, fair, process where you're not getting foreign influence in what's going on out there in Alberta right now with all of this going on? I'm telling you right now, this is not without foreign influence.
And will Tom Homan's ICE agent come into Alberta?
Yeah. So
that's the worst case scenario. You thinking that it takes 50%, but it's not, and everyone's rally up against that or for that.
Yeah.
Having the bad thinking here, or actually being misled. This is bloody hell. I'm sorry to say, but it can be very dangerous.
And I'm working on some other information. I have it. I just need to find the right way to ethically and properly present it to people. But the groundwork is being laid to create the conditions where coercion can be applied against the federal government up here, if it comes to that. It's complex and it's a legal thing. I'll maybe get into it another night. I'm just telling you that this is not just all happening on the Canadian side, because there are other interests involved here, and it just breaks my heart. Canada deserves better than this. We Canadians deserve better, but we're getting caught up in a whole new era here, and this is a part of a larger international geopolitical shift. And we're one of the first dominoes to fall. I've been saying for a long time, Canada's in play. They want it. They want this country. There are various interests that do, and it's playing out in real time right before your eyes. And I'm still seeing people say, "Oh, it's not going to happen because it's just Alberta positioning itself to leverage to get more for the province." No, it's more than that. It's a lot more than that.
Well, when we get down to some of the financial nitty gritty, how much does Alberta do in transfer payments anyway to Quebec?
It works out to about $12 billion a year, between 10 and 12 billion.
12 billion?
Yeah, about 12 billion. Yeah. It's oil money. But as I pointed out, like that seems like a substantial amount of money, and it is. but it doesn't mean that Albertans are out there suffering in ways that they think they are. It's and as I say, like the federal government pumps money back into Alberta too, so it flows this way, and then some of the money flows back. Now it is a net negative overall, but Albertans also enjoy the benefits of defense. They enjoy the benefits of the the highway that runs all the way across Canada. They enjoy the benefits of money coming back in through their healthcare system, federal transfer payments. There's a variety of things that they get their Canada pension plan. All that stuff ends up being kind of pumped back. You think you're not going to pay income tax? Yes, you will. One way or another, you're going to pay your taxes, whether it's to the federal government in Ottawa or to an independent government in Alberta that has to start charging you more taxes if you want the same levels of service, because they're not going to have the support of the federal government. And when I listen to the speeches from like lawyer Jeffrey Rath, he's not really being honest with people about how instantly you're just going to be $30,000 richer every year because you just won't have to send any money to Ottawa. No, they're going to take more from you, and they'll have to, because a lot of the things that are not even like direct, like just take military spending, right? If you have your own country, then you're going to have your own military. You think you're going to have like a nation, like Danielle Smith, we're going to have our nation as part of a united Canada. This is like an oxymoron. What does that, what does that mean? Like Canada, like Quebec is sort of a nation within a nation, but it isn't. It is, but it isn't, It's, we have to find a way to end all of this. The answer is less sovereignty for these provinces, not more, in my opinion, in order to make a stronger Canada.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do too, actually. It's crazy, but sorry, go ahead.
And then if you have less sovereignty for the province, Alberta would be better off, because then you get your pipelines built. Now the federal government has some tools that they can use to do that, but then what did I hear from the people out in Alberta? Don't vote for Carney because he says he's going to use the Emergencies Act to get the pipelines through. Oh my God. No, he didn't actually say that. He said he would use emergency powers to get it done, but they don't want that either. Well, then what the hell do you want? Because the federal government has to do something to get the pipelines pushed through. If you have all these provinces that have all these powers to stand in the way of the federal government getting the pipelines built, and you don't want them to use the powers to do an end run around their block, then you're the one causing, you see, it's like it's crazy talk. You can't have it both ways. So you can't tell the federal government that they can't use the powers to get the pipelines pushed through and criticize Carney for that, and then at the same time ask him to get the pipelines built and criticize him for not getting it done because he doesn't have the power to get it done or whatever, and blame him. You can't. It doesn't work that way. It's one or the other.
The politics are really mixed up.
Yeah, people are mixed up. They don't read things. They just watch videos now, and they get videos of people who are filling people's heads full of negative messaging, hate, anger, fear, and greed. You're getting ripped off. We're tired of getting ripped off. Yeah, thanks, Donald Trump. That's Donald Trump talk. Like, that's BS. You're not getting ripped off.
We get good cards.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
You want to see you're going to get ripped off, Alberta, when you join US of A, and then those big US oil corporations come up there and take your resources, man. You think you're going to have a big windfall? I did a healthcare series down in Texas years ago. I went down there in Corpus Christi, and they're all so much better off. They're so much richer down in Texas, No, they're not. I'm at an emergency department I'm as part of this healthcare series, I'm working with the public relations person there, and I got to interview a young man who comes into the emergency department because he chopped off part of his finger. No insurance, no benefits from where he's working. He works a full-time job. Now he's got a big bill that he's going to have to pay. And he's sitting there with his finger half chopped off in extreme pain because he had an accident at work. And he's trying to figure out how he's going to pay for it. And he's sitting there, he's dealing with the nurse at the window, trying to negotiate to figure out how he can get in to get some care, because he didn't really have. Now, there were provisions down there to get in to get some basic care, but he was still going to face this giant bill. And like, he's not rolling in the dough. He's got a big problem on his hands now. You have a baby down in Texas. You're paying through the nose for it, man. So it's all relative. There are good things, bad things, good things. I used to want to move to Texas, not because I was a trader, but because I just wanted to get out of the snow. All right. And I don't blame Canadians who go live in Florida or Texas or, or Arizona in the wintertime for 6 months to get out of the cold. Don't blame me a bit. And
but would you move down there now?
No, not a chance. No way. And I'll tell you, when I was down there, one of the reasons I was down there working on the series was because I was looking I had this romantic idea in my head at the time that I might like to move to Texas. So I went down there. I was working at a television station there as part of an exchange thing that I actually orchestrated so that I could go work there for a while and exchange. I did anyway, it's a long story, but I was able to do it. And I realized when I was down there that the grass isn't always greener on the other side, because the culture is different. And there's a lot of nasty stuff that goes on down there, a lot of racism. I'll tell you, like I was out riding around in a station vehicle. I was riding, camera guy was driving. We're on our way to go do some stuff. And he says to me, "Oh man, I don't even know if I should say this on the show." He used this pejorative term. I'd never heard it before because I'm just an innocent young guy from Canada. This is years ago when I was young, just getting into the journalism game, right? And he says, "You want to go see these?" And he used this phrase. And I was like, "See what?" "These porch," and another word. And I'm like, "I don't know what the hell you're talking about." And he let this go on for like 3 days. And he was having fun with it. Like I didn't know what the hell he was talking about because I was just naive. Finally, after the third day, he says, "Okay, you want to go see these porch blanks?" And I'm like, "Okay." So he takes a turn, he drives down, and he goes into the slums. Well, like the really poor part of town, and points to all the black people. And I was like, "Dude, this isn't funny." And it was disgusting. It was appalling. And that's like, there's a lot more of it down there. I'll tell you too, the other thing that I found is just stuff like when I was down there in Texas, yeah, there's a lot more freedom, but there are also a lot more beer cans, empty beer cans in the trash can at the gas pump at the gas station. And when I was going to work in the mornings down there, you'd walk out, and if you went to the gas station, you'd see these workers sitting outside on the outside the kiosks or the stores, drinking beer or sometimes hard liquor even at like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning before they would go to work. It was just a different, which is not cool.
Different culture.
Yeah. And no wonder the guy's chopping his finger off, at work. Because you can see, like, this is the stuff that's going on. So it's a totally different way to live. And I love Texas. I do. I like it down there, but I don't want to live there.
Well, some of the slums in the big American cities are, we only see them in movies up here in Canada. And there are certain areas you just don't go to. You know, I wanted to, in Atlanta, I wanted to pose by the sign that said Martin Luther King Boulevard. I wanted a photo of myself, you know, by the sign.
Yeah.
They said, no, don't do that. No, that's just not safe. So okay, I'll listen to the locals, and no, you know, there are some areas you just don't go into.
And, you know, even when I was when I was 16, I first got my driver's license. I remember going over, driving over the border into Detroit and driving around for the first time, sort of on my own. I had my girlfriend at the time with me, and we were just over there. I can't remember where we were going. We went and did our thing, but the roads were just like atrocious, full of potholes. It was awful, right? And I remember even then, and I used, you know, later I lived in Windsor and would go to Detroit almost weekly. But at the time, it made a huge impression on me because as soon as you cross that border back over the Ambassador Bridge, or come from, like, it was the bridge at the time that I came through, you come back over and the roads on the Windsor side, smooth. And I was like, what a difference. And the city clean. But over in Detroit, like, you want to, that's the downside, right? As much as I love Detroit, and I do, and there's some great stuff that goes on over there, Tigers baseball and the Fox Theater, which, you know, I was around for when that was being restored, but that fell into disrepair, right? That had to be part of a huge revitalization effort down there on Woodward Avenue, because so much of that whole historic strip was just devastated economically. And there's still so much of Detroit that you go drive around there, man, it looks like a bomb went off. So go ahead, Alberta. You want that? You think things like the thing about the US is you can go find places where there's extreme affluence and really high-end neighborhoods, but you don't have to go far, and you're walking around with, you know, tons of people living with no homes, walking around on the streets, dangerous. You know, it's not an unwarranted concern of people to say, when you go over there, be careful you don't get shot. It's true.
Well, let me ask you this, Rick.
Yeah.
You know, I've been all through the States too, and then when I come back, a few times I've come back to the bridge at Windsor, sometimes Cornwall, and been in the States. I'm always a little on guard, but when I cross that bridge and come back into Canada, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
You ever get that feeling yourself?
Yeah, like a weight has been lifted off your shoulder, that there's less stress or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's less pressure. It's like, it's just something comes off your shoulders. Because when you go over to Detroit, you're like, your head's on a swivel, you're watching all the time. I've never had a problem, you know. I've been approached by, like, I talk to homeless people, right? But everything fine. Never been attacked or shot or anything like that. And I used to go over there just to shoot pictures and stuff, and do some photography and go to, like, some of the worst areas, you know. And for years, you know, the old Packard plant in Detroit, the Packard automotive plant, just a bombed out old building. Maybe I'll find some old photos at some point and show people. That would be worthwhile showing, because this is the downside of America, right? You have this really, like, booming auto industry at one time, and this was one of the biggest brands, one of the biggest names in automobiles in America at the time, and the company went bust, and then the factory just fell into disrepair. It became a hazard, and it sat there for decades, just, you know, crumbling. Literally looked like bombs went off inside, like debris everywhere. And people would go there and shoot photos and things like that. And you're not really supposed to be inside the building and stuff. But even at the time, I went in there at one point and shot a lot of photos and things like that. I'll find them maybe and show people. But it became a symbol of the decline of the auto industry in America. But that happened for a variety of reasons, not just because of the things that Donald Trump talks about. It crumbled because of greed. It crumbled because of social problems, you know? And now they're bringing stuff back, but it's taken decades, and it's just a different kind of country. Who's on the line with us?
It's Isabel.
Hey, how are you tonight?
Oh, not too bad. You're talking about experiences in the States?
Yes.
Oh, I've had a couple.
Hang on. You know what? I need to take a little break, but we're gonna come back, and it'll be your turn to share your American experience. Hang on just a second.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, we're back. And Isabel, go ahead. Tell us about your USA experience.
Oh, in 1972, my aunt used to live in downtown Madison Avenue, New York. We went to visit her, and in her building, they decided to turn the elevator off. So she had to go in the building next door. We'd had to go up 6 flights and then crawl over, which there was a drop between the 2 buildings, crawl over the building roof and down a flight of stairs to get to her apartment. That was one heck of an experience. But, and not only that, when we parked our truck downtown, because they only have red and green lights, there's no yellow. So make it. If you don't make it, then stay where you are. We parked our truck right on the main street, and we had, of course, in the back, this big double mattress because we were on a honeymoon. We were told to empty everything out of our truck, and we had to put it in a compound, which was $80 a night back then, because we couldn't leave it on the street because it wouldn't be there when we'd wake up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But we took a wrong turn, and we ended up in Harlem.
Oh,
Yes. There was.
I'll give you something about that later.
There were cars parked in the middle of the street up on jacks. Some of them were missing wheels. Some of them were just, I don't know, a disaster. Garbage cans turned over in the middle of the street. And the scariest thing was, because it was Harlem, and I said to my husband, I said, what happens if we get a flat tire? He said, we ain't bloody well stopped. We're going to go on the rim.
Seriously? You know what? You don't stop. If you get a flat in those area in Queens, you don't stop. You keep going till you get to a safer place. And that's what my dad told me.
Yes, because they were all sitting on what they call their stoops, like their front porches. But there was the tenement buildings, and they were just hanging out the windows, looking at this truck with Canada plates on it, and 2 white people inside the truck. So first thing my husband says, lock the doors, roll up the windows, we're getting out of here.
See, and the reason you're so white is because you live in igloos, you don't get no sun.
Yeah, that was it.
You stand out. As soon as you cross that border into the United States, if you're Canadian, we have no.
You're picking.
Yeah.
You're the pickings. There's no doubt about it. We've been back and forth. Like, I was a biker with the Gold Wing Road Riders Club, and they're known worldwide. Mm-hmm. And you have what's called the Gold Wing Bible. Mm-hmm. So if you get stuck anywhere, you can look up somebody in that area, and they can put you up for the night or get you gas or get you to a gas station, whatever. we used to go down all the time. So the one time we go across the border and we're going across the Blue Water Bridge, and we get to the booth and the guy says, and I've never heard them say this, citizenship. And this was like 2009. And the guy said citizenship. And my husband said Canadian. Dummy. I turned around and said, oh, no. I have a British passport. Yeah, well, we didn't get across that day. They pulled us off to the side. They ripped our Honda trike apart, under it, in it, everything. Then they took us inside, and I was pulled off to the side. And I was questioned why I had answered differently from my husband. And I said, because I am a British citizen, but I live in Canada. I have a permanent residency. I have landed immigrant papers. It's all here. I bring everything with me. Just step over here. I thought, oh, so I look at my husband. I said to the girl, what did I do? We asked a question. I thought, oh, shit. I can't run home now. Do you know they handcuffed me?
No. Really?
They put me in handcuffs. Yep. And I got fingerprinted.
Wow.
And I felt about an inch high. I just wanted to run back across the border, man.
Yeah.
And every time I crossed after that, even though it was rectified, they told me it has to go to Washington, D.C. It has to be rectified there. But every time we went across after that, there was a red flag. And we got stopped every time after that for about 9 months.
Yeah.
Scary? Yeah, that was scary because I wasn't in control. The next time we came back across, we went over one more time to, my husband bought me a trike. And it was a secondhand trike, only cost $8,000. We bought the trike. We had forgot that we had put a $500 deposit on that to the seller in Mississippi. We got to the border. They let us through on the state side. Said, okay, no problem, go through. When I got to the Canadian side, they pulled us over. They went through our truck. They asked for the VIN number on the bike. I didn't know where to look for it. They wouldn't let my husband go get it. So I had to go out and crawl through the trailer to find the VIN number of the trike because they thought it was stolen. They held us there, not explaining to us why, because I had a record book that I kept record for memories type of thing. I had photocopied the check and put the check in the book. Forgot all about it because this was like months before. That's what they held us on. Every time we said, how much did we pay for the bike? We said $7,500, not thinking about the deposit. They held us up for 3 hours on the Canadian side.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go home.
Yeah. I've been pulled over many times and vehicle searched. I've had them take my cell phone, go through everything. You know, no big deal to me, other than one time they held me so long that I should have missed the flight that I was taking because I was going over there to do some work, journalism, to go cover an event. But fortunately, my flight was delayed, so I still made it. Yeah, I was there for hours that night. But no big deal. People freak out, and you know they give me your cell phone. Okay, here you go. I just give it to them.
Yeah.
Just cooperate. They can go through everything. They did. They went through my phone, everything online. They know more about me now than I know about myself, but that's okay. And then
well, people are saying now, if you have anything on there that's not in line with Trump on your phone, they're advising us on this side to take a burner phone or a flip phone. But I said, they still got your social media. Once they've got your name, they can look up your social media, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's not, I mean, they're trying to help us on this side if we want to go over, but I'm in no hurry to leave anymore.
No, me either. I don't want to go over the border at all now.
No.
I love the United States and used to go over all the time, like weekly. When I lived in Windsor, just about every week I'd go over one day on a weekend to do different things. But boy, those
well, it's like I think about the people in Sombra. They used to take the Sombre Ferry all the time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people are not taking the Sombre Ferry. It was only like a 10-minute over and back, right?
Yeah.
Because they get 2 ferries going, but people are saying, no, we're not doing that no more.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of Canadians not going over there now. Well, did you have something else you wanted to say there, Dragon, about an experience you had or with Harlem, or did you already say it?
Well, actually, I did add personal stories from my own personal thing, but my dad actually used to work for a company that was actually it's Rail bus. They were from doing Montreal and New York, basically fares for people, right? So that's the thing that the company told him, and that's one thing he told me from one of his own experience in those parts, Queens and Harlem. When there's there's some places you don't go. You make sure that you don't get into those, scary places, because when they see those Canadian plates, the guys are out there for your stuff for sure. And since it's buses and stuff like that, they can get their bus completely tripped up at some places. So yeah, you're careful, and when you get a flat, you don't stop. You just keep going till you get to a safer place or a safer spot. And tell you what, police ain't going to tell you that you did a bad thing. If they follow you and say that you're Canadian and see that you're just not in the right neighbor when you get that flat, they ain't gonna be angry about it.
No, definitely not. But I know when I came out of that place, I was like sweating like crazy because we were in there, man. Because everybody was watching you and you could see them in the building. I'm standing on their balconies and oh yeah, it was scary, man. It was, because a couple of places we had to go up and over the sidewalk because of all the stuff in the middle of the road. And I thought, oh my God, if we get stuck here. My husband kept saying, that's why we got a gas pedal.
They're watching you coming and they're like, who's those people coming out of that Canadian forest there? Oh God, we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, they truly believe when we first went down there, and people would come up here. My husband was a bus driver, and they would say to him, wow, we didn't expect this up here. And my husband would be like, what do you mean? Well, we're tourists from, wherever. We thought you guys had snowmobiles and igloos. And he's like, no, that's only in the winter.
I'm just getting some Packard material together here for people. I'm going to share some of this old footage. Instead of doing the Maverick Midnight Matinee the normal way we normally do, I'm going to share some of this stuff with you guys right now. And then I'm going to show you what became of this once great company. And yeah, I think that the Packard name is still out there alive, and they use the branding on some other products. I think I saw some cheap style radios and things using the Packard name about a year ago. I'll have to look up that information. But here, let's show you this here first of all.
Well, hello there.
Hello, Scoop. Hello, Mom. Hello, Gal.
What happened to you?
No, this is fine. Only got a minute. You've got to help us.
Yes, all folks to the rescue. Please, one at a time.
Stop it, all of you. Be seated calmly and talk like intelligent people.
Well, we're on a committee.
Raising funds for the Red Cross, and we've got
And we want to buy your place.
got to have it for the coming out party.
For the movies, Technicolor, just like Hollywood. Movies? Red Cross coming out party.
No. Packard's coming out in movies for the Red Cross.
And the producer wants to use all of this as background for the new Packard cars. Isn't it exciting?
You mean actors and actresses?
No, of course not. Just our friends. Bright young people on the way up. Solid, substantial folks in the 40s. Handsome old fogies like you and Mom. Backbone of the nation.
Sure, the whole Packard family.
Junior League meets the Union League and all that sort of business.
Oh, I think it's fun. Hang up things very festive, gay backgrounds for glamorous cars. Lots of wee and whooping.
Oh, I'm still a little mixed up.
That's all right. You'll love it. It does sound rather interesting.
Okay, then. Fine. Come on, let's start calling people.
And decorations just like Hollywood.
Will you please tell me what's going on?
I guess we just wait and find out. Color. Let's have lots of color. This new Packard's going for color in a big way. Lots of rich, glamorous color.
Welcome to our coming out party. It's all for fun and charity. I know you're going to get a thrill out of seeing the Packard family meet the exciting new models for 1941, and I hope you enjoy watching how movies are made.
Really? Oh, this is fun. I told them I just didn't have a thing to wear. You look so silly in all that makeup. Well, after all, it's for charity. I don't know how to act. I admit it. But you don't have to act. Just do as you're told.
All right, please, everybody. Camera. Action. Now start panning up. Now hold on the reflection of the car. Silence, symbol of smooth, quiet performance. Pan up to the car itself.
Introducing the Packard 110 for 1941.
Move in, folks. Don't be afraid. You've just discovered the new Packard. It's longer and lower, with lots of oomph. Be excited. Let yourself go. That's it. Cut. And okay it.
Yay!
That's swell. Hold it.
Doing great, Tom.
Now do it again, just like that. All right, boy, take it away.
Enduring Packard identity, yet always modern and always in good taste.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. What's next?
The 110 Deluxe, and I mean deluxe. All right, boys, we're moving. We open with this shot to show the effect of rich contrasting paint and bright chrome. And this fine expanse of glass for better vision in all directions. We must have a full shot of this luxurious interior. Then we come into a close-up of the rear window with its bright chrome molding. And as Milady steps out, we pause to admire this deep fender framing the wheel. Here, we see the car from one of its most impressive and fascinating angles. It shows the gracefully descending line of the roof and the sweeping rear deck. That suggests plenty of luggage space. This is worth a close-up. The vertical position of the spare tire makes a more usable luggage compartment.
Okay, that's it. Let's make it.
All right, places, people. Quickly, please. Let's have it quiet, please. This is a picture.
Randy.
20.
Just call it our next car.
Madam? Oh, darling, I'm so sorry. After you.
No, after you. You're the driver.
All right, dear.
Say, you really sink down in these cushions.
So you deserted your first love, eh? No, sir. No, sir. But it's a mighty tempting, sir. Mighty tempting.
Charles! Charles!
Yes, dear. What's this?
Don't drink anything.
Well, let's find out. Well. Amazing.
Charles, of course, we don't need a new car, really.
I know.
But perhaps.
Well.
All right, boys, the complete new lineup. We'll get set for the big parade. Plenty of production value. You line it up, Ted. I'll be over here at the gate.
For 1941, Packard presents 5 lines of cars with 38 body models, covering a price range from low to high, extending Packard's satisfaction and pride of ownership to all motorists.
I want the Woody.
Improved in mechanical excellence, as you would expect from Packard.
I'm going to put a
Styled in
surfboard
manner
on the
to turn
roof.
heads and excite admiration everywhere. From every standpoint, the finest motor cars ever to bear the proud name and heritage of Packard.
Da-da-da-da. Those are the days.
The running boards and white walls.
Yes, and I wish they all could be California girls. And I take my
Yeah.
Woody and we go to the beach with my surfboard. Oh, hang on a sec here. I got to stop presenting that. Oh, I'm all messed up now. Hang on, here we go. Just bring it back normal. And then I've got this, guys, to show you what happened to the Packard plant in Detours. I finally found this report. I don't even remember this report that I did, but I found it online from a long time ago. So it's even though I did this report, I don't remember what I said. So it's as new to me now as it will be for you.
Well, I'm going to sign off, Rick.
Okay, this is just a short thing here, Brian. But yeah, thank you so much for calling in tonight.
The hands-off demo yesterday, I guess, went very, very well across America.
Yeah.
So I guess Bernie and AOC had a big rally today. So
yeah, I did
the
see
pushback
that.
against Trump continues.
Yeah, May Day demonstrations all around the world today too, and many of them overlapping with anti-Trump rallies. I see that big one in Philadelphia. So yeah. And if you're talking to John, because he's a mutual friend, and I know we all talk to each other, give him my love. And
I will.
From Ontario to Alberta.
John needs a great big strong coffee.
Yes, with some real Quebec maple syrup in it too, Dragon. That's what he needs.
Well, I don't know whether the honorary Ontario snowflake can ever melt the Alberta iceberg at the moment.
Well,
we can try, John. We can try, Brian, right?
That's right.
So, anyway, have a good night, Rick.
Okay, you
Dragon,
too.
Isabel, take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, here's what happened to the Packard plant. This is from I don't know how many years ago.
You know what, Rick?
This is the world's largest abandoned factory. The 3.5 million square foot facility has become a symbol of Detroit's decay, but a new plan could change that. The Packard auto plant opened in 1903 and operated until 1958. At its peak, 40,000 Detroit auto workers were employed here. In 2013, the factory was sold in a municipal auction for a little over $400,000. Now a group of investors led by developer Fernando Palazuelo has formed a company called Art Express to revitalize the property. The money is coming from parent companies in Peru. And even though one investment firm has pulled $80 million out of the project because of concerns over the health of the global economy, the project is still moving forward, according to the CEO, with no plans to scale back. Over $2 million has already been spent to clear up a portion of the property, but the project could cost more than $700 million. If completed, the old Packard plant will be transformed into a complex that will be used for a mix of retail, residential, and other uses. The property is now monitored around the clock by security, reducing problems with vandalism and arson. And local residents in Wayne County, Michigan, are hoping the project will help restore prosperity to a community that was once home to an automotive company that once produced some of the world's most beautiful and most prestigious cars.
Oops, hang on here. Bring you back. Come on, get back on the screen. Hang on, guys. I'm bringing you back. There we go. Yeah. And that was...
You're ready to show the world what you can do with pride and passion.
That was 8 years ago,
ready
that
to face
report.
any challenge.
And then I know that last year, that factory finally was torn down. That the demolition began a couple of years ago, and then a year ago, the next phase began. I don't think it's all cleaned up yet. I've been over in Detroit quite a while, but I mean, it's just this. It just shows you sort of the pinnacle of what America can be, like the top of the mountain, and then how it can crumble into nothing.
Yep.
You know?
Like it's built on sand and not rock.
Yeah.
It's just dissolving.
Not that the United States isn't resilient, but they have problems and it's extremes. And I can't think of any place in Canada that is like that. Can you?
The way I look at the States is everything's bigger, everything's better, everything's the best, but it never lasts.
Mm.
It just seems to destroy itself within.
Yeah, they have great stuff, and look, there's good and bad in everything. In the States, though, I just find they're extremes, and the grass isn't really green around the other side, folks, as you can see.
Nope.
It's just and it has taken like decades and decades, like since the 50s, and it's still a problem over there. They're still trying to fix the problem in like 2025. 8 years ago, I was over there. I shot that video, and still today. Like here I'll show you here's a news report from a year ago as they continue their efforts. So let's just pick this up, and this is just a really good example. The Packard experience just really illustrates the extremes that America goes through, right? Got to get through this commercial here. This is Fox 2 Detroit a year ago.
68 years, but it was worth the wait.
After sitting vacant and blighted since the 1950s, the Packard plant is officially coming down.
This has been personal for me. You know, my mom every single month asks me when I'm going to get the Packard plant down. She's been looking at it now, my whole life at least. So it's a big day.
Demolition actually began in 2022. This year, it's just continuing. Mayor Duggan says the 200,000 square feet building will be knocked down to the bricks first, and then they'll demolish even more north of Grand Boulevard. His office is already listening to proposals for who wants to move in.
There is significant demand in this location, both for the Jeep plants and the GM Factory Zero. This is prime location.
City officials joined him to mark the continuation of the demolition, saying that this was years in the making.
I remember almost 9 years ago, it may have been more than that, when we had a proposal for this site. We were excited. We were energized about what this could have been. And unfortunately, that did not work out, but we never gave up.
They say thanks to the American Rescue Plan, they were able to pay for most of the demolition, which cost $26 million, and they say it should be done within the next 5 to 6 months.
And you can see a lot of it has already been cleared out. This is an ideal site for manufacturing. I want to see people making auto parts again here.
Yeah. So it's an ongoing effort over there, and in Detroit, they've made a lot of improvements in the community since when I lived there. They were bringing back Woodward, and it was really, really rough, and but it's taken so long, so much work, and there's still so many areas that are just so even dangerous. It's just
I mean, some places you drive through Detroit and they're not bad, and other places they're like a nightmare.
Yep.
There's so much destruction to the buildings. They've been let go, and it's got to be frustrating for the people that are there.
It is, and dangerous even. It's I'm just saying, be careful what you ask for.
Yep.
Just get it.
I mean, the way I look at it is, okay, in Canada, you can have road rage. Well, maybe not so much anymore, but it would come down to an argument, maybe a fist fight. But in the States, they're armed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that here. I don't want people carrying handguns. That's one part I do not want from the state. I don't want anything they've got, but that mostly.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I wanted to go, actually. I don't see myself, like, for example, whether it's Quebec, Alberta, or even Ontario, that is separating from Canada. I wouldn't not be surprised that in 10, probably even less than 5 years, that we see that American culture of the opening of the openness within the firearm thing, to come around, and that I start to hear basically daily gunshots around my street or stuff like that, right? Or any of you guys. That would be, I think, not surprising to see in about 5-10 years from now, if that to be to happen.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to crap all over the United States or Detroit or anything, because I love Detroit. I really do. I actually prefer Detroit to Toronto just because it has more character, but Toronto is cleaner. And as much as Toronto has issues, as any big city does, not like Detroit does, not like New York City, not like Harlem, not like that. So,
and I hear you, Dragon. That would be my fear. It's bad enough right now. We know the illegal arms, but this, certificate to carry, I don't want that here. I like it the way we are. We're always saying sorry. I don't know how many times I say it a day when I'm out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And it's an acceptable expression. I don't want to have to be looking at somebody standing there with a sidearm. And you see that a lot in the States. A lot. When we used to go to the rallies, people would be walking around with their, their pouch on their side. And I'm like, okay, I have never seen one up close, and I don't want to be looking down the barrel. And it's not that I don't know about guns. My husband was a hunter, but that was a different process. We have such a strict process on your FACs and everything that you have to have here in order just to be a hunter. The firearms, no, I don't want that part. There's a few things I don't want, and that's part of it. And if that's, I don't think the people in Alberta are looking at this, because then they're really going to cut themselves off from Canada.
I think that's the plan. That some of these people, to cut Alberta off from Canada.
But I think there's not as many. I don't know if there are as many people as John thinks there are on that side. They're going to lose a lot of people leaving because of that, I think, from Alberta.
Right. Well, guys, you have touched a point about the firearms thing in Alberta, which is basically, how can I put that? It's normal in those parts because, the hunting and the sport firearms part of it. And that's, I'm totally okay with that. The thing is that...
Sorry, I got an incoming call. Sorry, guys. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you, Isabel. Right. And with that, Dragon, I'm going to throw it over to you for a final thought tonight.
Well, if you want a final thought, I would say, well, Rick, you know what? If Quebec has to separate themselves, please, I would like someone to adopt me so I don't have to leave for America and stay in Canada, wherever it is. I will take the province who wants to take me. So I throw the words to everyone that wants to adopt a dragon.
Okay. So you want to hear a little Black Vet tonight to close off the show?
Yeah, that would be the perfect one.
All right, and a little automotive magic, Americana style. Here's Maverick and the News Brothers with Little Black Vet, and we will see you all back here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the
flip side.
Well, she's sitting in the driveway all dressed in black. Got that that slick paint, you know she got the knack. Chrome glimmers in the moonlight, like a star on the rise. When I slide behind the wheel, I feel alive. Oh, I can't deny, got the little black vest, she's my midnight ride. Rolling down the highway with my girl by my side. Fast as a whisper, smooth as a dream. In my little black van, we're a rock and roll team. Leather seats and a rumble that shakes the ground. With the top down low, we're lost in the sound. That engine growls like a lion's roar. Every mile we take, I just want more. Got the little black vest, she's my midnight ride. Rolling down the highway with my girl by my side. Fast as a whisper, smooth as a dream. In my little black van, we're a rock and roll team. Oh, the world slows down when we hit that street. The wind in our hair can't beat me. With the guitar waiting under the stars so bright. In my little black van, everything feels right.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.